portable in nature. I'm audible, girls, now. The screen is
Ma'am,
presented or not?
no, ma'am, the screen is not presenting, ma'am.
We have some problem in college network. Da. There is some drop, so immediately the control had gone. So, what are the services? Device monitoring. So, for that point only, I was about to tell like the uh, two predominant properties like user mobility and the device portability. So, the user is always will be maybe expected to be on move, and the device he or she is carrying will be portable in nature. So, first of all, we need to identify the device wherever it is present, and once when it is identified, it need to be monitored and with proper managerial and supervisory control services and followed by data publishing services. Maybe you may be asking, ma'am, data publishing. See, publishing in the sense, even in your third unit of computer networks, while you are discussed about IP and all, you would have IP Internet Protocol, you would have come across some sort of notification will be shared by the protocol, some sort of advertisement will be given by the consent protocol. So such kind of services can be called as publishing. So publishing is what all the, even in routing algorithm, if I am right, if it is distance vector algorithm, in a network, each and every router will be maintaining what a routing table, and it's the bounded duty of every other router to publish the lookup table. Lookup table is what uh, currently what are all the nodes connected, and from one particular node to every other node what is the feasible path is available with the weightage it is stored in the lookup table. So each and every router will be keep on publishing the lookup table information. Accordingly, whichever is the optimal path will be finalized for data transmission. So this is how publishing services can be taken into idea. For your idea sake, I'm telling publishing is once when the informations are available, the device will be keep on popping up the current state and what are the available possible services. Accordingly, whichever whichever other node is in need of that particular service can be availed. So that's what about data publishing services. Next comes management, provides various functions to govern the IoT system. So always you please make a note on this. Management is nothing but in the perspective of time, in the perspective of in order or to manage with the flow, data and error, not error flow, data flow. The synchronization is maybe for example, if the data is getting transmitted is numbered in some order, the data will be transmitted. Whatever it may be, the architecture may be last in first out or first in last out like that. One second, ma. I'm back, girls. So normally it will take some 3 attempts, whatever it may be the thing. Okay. Coming to security, can anyone tell difference between authentication and authorization? And that day I had completed the class with these two uh, terms only, authentication and authorization. What's the difference? Anyone?
Ma'am.
Tell me, da.
Ma'am, authentication is the genuine process, ma'am.
Authorization?
Server side authorization.
Partially, it is correct. At least by now, all of you make a note. Please don't have a doubt in these two terms. Whenever you are moving anywhere, you will be checked with these two terms. You should have some clear cut idea about what is this. Authentication, I told like any end user side or client side. Whenever the client is actually supplying his or her credentials, it will be for prove his authenticity, he will be supplying the id and password. In turn, the service provider, maybe the Yahoo search engine or Google or Gmail, anything and everything, it will authorize you that you are a genuine user. So this is user side and authorization is service provider side. Make a note at least by now. Okay, message and context integrity, it's talking about whatever it may be the message, it is transmitted, it is expected to receive as it is sent. There's no modification, there's no reduce, or there's no addition of extra information. And finally, with data security, for this data security, we have plenty of algorithms. The most common algorithms are RSA algorithm, MD5 hashing algorithms, other hashing algorithms, AES, DES, digital encryption standard. All such thing will be falling under data security. Finally, with the application, IoT application provide an interface that the user can use to control and monitor various aspects of IoT system. So IoT application provide an interface by which users can avail the various services. Okay. Next, we move on to IoT communication models. So this IoT communication models only, I actually we had a previous discussion. Various other systems are falling under these categories. You remember request respond model, publish subscribe model, push pull model, and exclusive pair. Okay, let's have a look over the request response model. Wherever we have request and response, there we can have client and server. So idea is client always give a request for all the services. In turn, the client will respond, and the server may be having plenty of resources, hardware, platform, database, software, anything and everything will be connected with this server. Okay, so in this request response scenario or model, the client sends request to the server and server responds to all the requests. And it's a stateless communication model. Each request response pair is independent of others. Say for example, you may have some more request response model also, but each and every request response are independent on each other. So say for example, some first level task, once when the response is received, that's it, first task has got over. And regarding second task and third task, likewise it will get over. Likewise, next is publish, subscribe. The tar is missing. Okay, so where you will have publisher one side and broker other side and all the consumers. So this scenario, even now you might have come across in your real time. These brokers are nothing but the agents. What they'll do, they will be acting as a mediator between parties. So idea is maybe your younger brother or sister, whenever the alliance is for any alliance, They may be appointing some brokers. Not only for that, supposing if you are looking for any office space or even for rental house, you may be approaching the area brokers. Similarly, here the publisher, what he will do, he will publish one message category wise, topic wise to the broker, and under each and every topics, what are all the who are all the subscribers and who are all the consumers connected, it will be maintained by the broker. Accordingly, the services will be handed over to the consumers. Okay, so let's read it out. This involves publishers, brokers, and consumers. Publishers are source of data. Publishers send data to the topics which are managed by the broker, and publishers are not aware of any consumer. So please make a note, this publisher will never come to know who are all the consumers associated with this business process. Okay, consumers subscribe to the topics which are managed by the broker. So this broker will take care of all topics, and the consumers in turn will subscribe for all the services. When the broker services receives data for a topic from the publisher, it sends the data to all the subscribed consumers. Okay, so accordingly, this is how the publish subscribe model is actually. Moving on, next comes push pull model. Okay, in which data producers, make a note on this, producers and consumers. So producers, logically you can correlate with providers, service providers. Consumers is service acquirers. Okay, so in which data producers push data to queues and consumers pull data from the queues. So being a service provider, producer will be pushing the services, and whichever service is needed, the consumer will be pulling the services. So in that way it is being denoted as push or pull model. Next comes producers do not need to aware of the consumers. Queues help in decoupling the message between producers and consumers. Like the previous model, producers may not aware of the consumers list. Instead, like brokers, here queues will be helping in the process of decoupling the message between producers and consumers. You may be asking decoupling. Decoupling is one service push, and for the equivalent push, the respective pull. So that is couple. So decoupling the message between producers and consumers. So this is how the diagram. Publisher send messages to the queues, and various consumers will be connected. So messages push to the queues, and the consumer will be pulling off the consent services according to their requirement. Next comes exclusive pair. Exclusive pair is where you have client and server straight away. Is bidirectional. Make a note, it is bidirectional full duplex communication. What does it mean, full duplex? Anyone can tell? Full duplex. If you people are not opening your mouth in online sessions, then obviously I can take it as the vouched
Ma'am,
information. You're not connected. Other than
ma'am,
Aishwarya, I'm asking else everyone else to open your mouth, and later on there will be internal mark for participatory, where right from day one all your classroom activities is getting monitored. Based on the activities you will be evaluated. So class participation I'll give 0 marks. Those are not opening your mouth, make a note on that. What is full duplex communication model or full duplex
Transmission is
communication?
simultaneously bidirectional, ma'am.
Hmm, good. So full duplex is both bidirection is possible, and also simultaneous
Simultaneously bidirectional. Yes,
transmission
ma'am.
is possible. Good, good, Deepa. So that uses a persistent
Thank you,
connection
ma'am.
between client and server. So have a look over here the diagram. First of all, client will request for a setup connection establishment, and in turn server will be accepting the request, thereby it had responded. Then one message from client to server is transmitted, and then from server message from server to client also. Finally, see, connection established and it has been responded, message transmission is done. That's it. We have completed with the message transmission. It is our bounded duty to release the connection. Connection close request and connection close response. So connection is released in this period, in this time. After this, connection is released. So once connection is set up, connection is established, it remains open until the client send a request to close the connection. And this scenario, exclusive pair is a stateful communication, whereas request response is stateless. Request response is stateless, exclusive pair is stateful communication model, right? Next comes IoT communication APIs. So make a note on all these APIs. What is API? As we know it is, what is API?
Request response based model.
No, API. I'm asking, what is API? Acronym for API. It is Application Programming Interface. Okay, so for communication APIs, IoT has got some two different APIs, REST based and WebSocket based. So this REST based is nothing but again request response based model. WebSocket based is exclusive pair based model. What is exclusive pair? Again, this client and server, and request response is the first ever model. What is that model? Communication model. Okay. So this request response based model is stateless, and this exclusive pair based model is stateful. Okay. So let's see one by one. REST based communication APIs, representational state transfer. Make a note on this. Representational state transfer. It's an acronym for REST, is a set of architectural principles by which we can design web services and web APIs which focus on a system's resources and have resource states and address and transferred. So idea here is representational state transfer. So where you will be having much of web services and web APIs comprising much more resources information. Once whenever it is needed according to the addresses in the sense all your peripherals, all your hardware elements will have the port numbers, hex equivalent addresses, physical address, logical address, anything and everything, even in internet by means of IP address. So all these addresses will be taken into account, and accordingly the resources may get shared and transferred. Let's have a look over the REST architectural constraints. Okay. So what are all the architectural constraints associated with the REST model is HTTP client, HTTP server, in between HTTP packet, and all possible resources will be connected over here. Let's have a look over the diagram, then we move on to the descriptive part. So what is HTTP? It's a protocol associated with the final layer, application layer, hypertext transfer protocol, which is purely to transmit the data. REST aware HTTP client. And on top of that HTTP packet, you have HTTP command get, put, post, delete. So you might be knowing, being a computer science girls, get is always to get some information as an input, and put is to output the data, and post is again to publish or to make a notification, and delete is whatever it may be the thing you need to drop, we will be using. And coming to this payload, I have told payload, message, data, all those terms you can use interchangeably. Payload is nothing but data getting transmitted, right? So REST payload will have two different entities, JSON and XML. So maybe for you, XML is quite familiar. What is XML? It is extensible markup language. So almost in all websites, they are in all the websites, XML might have been used for well defined format. The pakka proper format will be possible, which can be derived out of XML, extensible markup language. Coming to JSON, JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. So as you know, JavaScript is a platform independent language which provides much more services, features to your website. So your REST payload will be with this JavaScript object notation and extensible markup language. So one HTTP packet will be comprising of these two things: HTTP command and HTTP REST payload. Okay, so REST payload will be of this information, JavaScript and XML based. To determine with the current operation, any of this operation will be, any of this command will be taken. And coming to server side, see here authorization is given. Server side only authorization is given, and rest full web services specification will be lying down. One second, ma.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible, ma'am.
In campus network, there is some problem, da. Sorry. One second. Okay, girl, sorry. So in turn, the server will be having much of resources, which will be, what is that, very well can be identified with the URI. What is this URI? It is Uniform Resource Indicators. And each and every URI may have various other resources and corresponding representations. Okay. So let's have a look with this. So client and server, the principle behind client and server constraint is the separation of concerns. Separation allows client and server to be independently developed and updated. Even you might have experience or you might have come across, server side scripting is different from client side scripting is different. Okay, both are independent in each other functionalities. Next is stateless. Each request from client to server must contain all the information necessary to understand the request and cannot take advantage of any stored context on the server. I repeat, each request from client to server must contain all information necessary to understand the request and cannot take any advantage stored context on the server. That means stateless indicates that first of all, each and every request response is coming like no request response are dependent on each other. One thing, and no request which is coming from client is influence on the server. Context on the server will never get disturbed based on any request received from the server. So that's what stateless is men. Then cacheable. Cacheable is, what is cache? What is cache? Cache is again a memory. Make a note on that. Small but speed. Cache memory is small but speed. So this cache constraint requires that the data within a response to a request be implicitly or explicitly labeled as cacheable or non-cacheable. If a response is cacheable, then a client cache is given the right to reuse that response for data later. So idea here is cacheable is whatever it may be the response received from the server side, it will be stored for a while. Later, for reuse also, the client is authorized to have the service again. That's what it is mean cacheable. I repeat, if a response is cacheable, then the client cache is given the right to reuse that response data for later or equivalent requests. Right? And then layered system. Layered system is constrains the behavior of components such that each component cannot see beyond the immediate layer with which they are interacting. So layered system here and there we have seen. Okay, so according to the services and protocols associated in OSI, TCP, and even IoT layered architecture we have seen. So here what they are talking about the constraints the behavior of each and every component such that each component cannot see beyond the immediate layer with which they are interacting. Next comes UI, user interface. Constraint requires that the method of communication between a client and a server must be uniform. So UI is between a client and a server, whatever it may be the communication, it is expected to be the same one. And code on demand, servers can provide executable code or scripts for clients to execute in their context. So whenever it is demanded, the code is also getting supplied from the server. This constraint is the only one that is optional. Code on demand is optional. Not all services are always in need of the code. So see here, request and response model used by REST, client and server side. Request, see, all possible commands: get, put, update or delete with payload JSON or XML. A response again in the format of JSON or XML. Again another request, then corresponding response. Make a note, these two requests, this couple request and response and this pair request and response is independent on each other. So next comes WebSocket based communication API. Again, client and server. Maybe we may be little uh, aware of this architecture. Let's see. Request to set up WebSocket connection. One difference is WebSocket. So socket is where internet came into existence again for the resource support. So set up the WebSocket connection and response accepting the request. So initial handshake has got over HTTP via HTTP. There onwards, once when the request and response pair has got established, data frames will be transferred from client to server and server to client, vice versa. Finally, connection close request and connection close response. Okay, so this data frame is bidirectional and over persistent WebSocket connection. Finally, this WebSocket connection will be released. This is how WebSocket based communication APIs are working. Right? So, with this, we'll wind up for today. In the next class, we will be looking into IoT enabling technologies. So, what and all we had covered today, we were into the logical design of IoT. We started with functional blocks, then communication models, four models, followed by APIs, REST and WebSocket based. Out of these two, REST is stateless and WebSocket is stateful. So even by yourself, you can very well Search for all possible study materials, any research article, textbooks, or any blogs or any open URLs with public access. Prepare your own answer script for logical design of IoT. Got it, all of you? I can see
Yes, ma'am.
only Lakshmi, Deepa Lakshmi, Aishwarya, Pooja. I don't know what's the reason for the rest of the people